Hi, before we begin, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Richie Gajate Garcia. I am the clinician for Latin percussion. I am an instructor of Latin drumming at the Music Institute of Technology in Hollywood, PIT department. I play percussion for the group Hiroshima. I play percussion for Alex Acuna and the Unknowns. I am a drummer percussionist for John Denver, and I'm the drummer on the Paul Rodriguez Variety Show. Now, the whole idea of mentioning these types of work that I do is not to try to impress you, but to show you the wide variety and range of styles that I work in. And I have found through the years of working with this group and instructing that a lot of people that want to get into the Latin percussion instruments sometimes don't know where to begin. So that is exactly what we are going to be doing in this video. We are going to be starting with the foundations of Latin music, from clave onto a few other percussion instruments, to the conga, the addition of 2 congas, 3 congas, addition of timbales and other percussion instruments, with concentration primarily on the conga drum, which I feel is the most important to the foundation of all of the other percussion styles. And so, the foundations of Latin music. Let's begin with clave. Now, clave is, first of all, the name of this instrument here, but it also is the name of the pattern that it plays. Now, here's a pattern that's very common to many of you. Now, the name of this clave is son clave, S-O-N clave. Now, we won't be dealing with another clave that exists, which is called rumba clave. We're going to primarily be working with the son clave. Now, the pattern that I just played is called forward. In other words, it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. So why clave? Well, if you look at a traditional Latin band, you will find that it has many percussionists. Amongst them, a timbale player who plays the mambo bell, the cha-cha bell, and the jam block. A conga player, a bongo player who plays the bongo bell or hand bell, a maraca player, a guiro player, a clave player. Well, all of these percussionists have patterns that are generally 2 bars in length. And when they go to play a tune, they find out that this one tune, let's say, is in 3/2 clave. Well, it tells them that they will be beginning their pattern in the first bar of this 2-bar phrase. If the tune is in 2/3 clave, then it tells them that they will be beginning their pattern in the second bar of their 2-bar phrase. So that is essentially the job of the clave. Where to begin, first bar or second bar? Okay, now before we get into playing any patterns, let's talk about the different sizes of drums that we have. There's the quinto, the conga, and the tumbadora. And these are the common drums that are used. And if you go into any music store and you request any of these names that I just mentioned, they will know exactly what you're talking about. Now, as far as tuning, most people tune according to the type of gig that they're playing. So if it's a Latin gig, guys usually like to tune their drums a fourth. In other words, like the song, Here Comes the Bride. Let's just check these 2 out. There's the pitch of a fourth. If you have a third drum, usually it's tuned a second below. And this would give you a range of pitches that you can use for a particular type of playing. But again, it's a very personal thing. So depending on what you're playing, you would choose what tuning to use. And if you're recording, many times the producers want you to tune the drums to the pitches that the track or the musicians would be playing on the particular track that you're recording. So it's a matter of preference, and it's really up to you which pitch you want to use. But the pitches that I mentioned before that are very common, and you can start there. Okay, so now we're going to move into actually playing different sounds on the drum. So we will be doing this on the conga drum. So let's go to the conga drum. Okay, so before we get started on the 4 basic sounds that are done on the conga, let's talk about sitting at the drum. Now, the traditional way of playing congas is by setting the conga right on the floor. And if you have a rug, it's usually good to put a piece of wood under the drum so that you can hear it better. But there's something very important that you should know. And let's use this small drum here to give you an example. This is a miniature conga. Your legs would be, your knee area would be around the body of the drum. Your feet would be around the base of the drum. Then what you have to do is tilt the drum a little bit so that you can get the sound out of the bottom of the drum. Otherwise, if it is flat on the surface, then you're killing a lot of the sound of the drum. And it's good that when you tilt it towards, if you are a right-handed player, towards your tumba, which would be on your right hand. Now let me show you what it sounds like when you have it flat and when you tilt it, how the pitch will change. This is flat on the surface. Now watch as I change, it's going to change a pitch. It's a nice effect, but it's not what we're looking for. In other words, by tilting it, you're going to be able to hear the drum a lot better. All right. So let's get into the 4 basic sounds that are done on the conga. This is something that is very important. You see, what's difficult about playing this instrument is not playing patterns on it, but reproducing the sounds that you need so that you can play the patterns. And these 4 sounds are the slap, the open tone of the drum, the bass tone, and the heel finger motion. Now there's many other sounds you can do, but these 4 sounds are the 4 sounds we need to get first so that we can get going with a pattern. And then as you learn and get better at it, you can start adding your own sounds and other things that you learn from other people as you go along. Now the open tone. The open tone is done from this part of your hand up, okay? And you do that by striking on the edge of the drum itself. You strike with your left hand or right hand, because it's done with either hand. You strike on the drum, and when you strike, you bring your hand back up as if it were ricocheting, so to speak. Now, I am exaggerating that. When you're actually into playing, you wouldn't do it that way, but that is the idea. With either hand. Okay, so this would work the same way on any of the other drums that you will be playing. Again, if you are playing an open tone, it's from this part of your hand up. Strike the drum again and listen for the full tone of the drum. See, if you killed the sound of the drum by leaving your hand on it, you won't get a good sound of the whole drum. So now watch and listen for the difference. Here's the open tone open, and this is me muffling it or playing it incorrectly. So you can see that there is a difference between both sounds. Open. Okay. So that's the open tone. Now, the next sound is the bass tone. Now, the bass tone is done with the palm of your hand, and it's done with either hand, and you would do that by striking towards the center of the drum and towards the edge of the drum. In other words, so that you can get both hands in the surface of the drum. So let's try the bass tone. Now this is a tone that the lower the pitch of the drum, the more resonance you get out of the drum. So if you're playing this on a quinto, when you hit the bass tone, it's not going to sound as deep as it would if you're playing it on a conga. And if you're playing it on a conga, it won't sound as deep as if you were playing it on a tumba. So the sound will be different depending on the drum that you are playing. So let's do some more of the bass tone. Now if you notice, I'm not raising my arm to do the bass tone this way. I am lifting from my wrist and coming down on the drum. This way it works a lot better and the sound has more control, or you have more control over the sound. Okay? So remember that when you practice it. If you have some problems seeing this for yourself, sit in front of a mirror and then you can see your hands as to each sound that you're working. Now, the next sound is very important, is the slap. Now, the slap is the most difficult sound to get, and as you play patterns and you keep working on the positioning of the right hand or left hand for the slap, it will get better as it comes along. But it's usually the hardest sound, so don't worry, and it will come along in its own time. Now, to get the slap, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be putting, and remember that this technique that I am talking about right now is for right-handed players. So if you are a left-handed player, then just reverse what I'm doing. If I'm saying the right hand, then for you it would be a left hand. Okay? So let's talk about the slap. The bass or your left hand would be on the drum, and this is on the drum so that it can kill the vibration of the drum, so that when you do the slap, which is a dry sound, then the sound will come out a lot better. But in time, as you play it, you won't need to put your left hand down to do the slap. So the slap is done in the same way. You put your hand as you did for the open tone, except that when you strike on the conga, it's going to be felt more towards the tips of your fingers. When you play the open tone, you see it or feel it in this part of your hand. So let's try that. We're going to put the left hand down and we're going to try the slap. Now, to play it, you cup your hand just a little bit, enough to create, shall we say, a little chamber in here, so that by cupping your hand a bit, then you will be striking with the tips of your finger as opposed to the lower part of your hand in this area. So let's try the slap. Now, this is done towards the center of the drum. And it's done with either hand. So let's try it left-handed. We're going to put the left hand on the drum. We're going to get the same position that we had for the open tone, but we're going again to slap towards the center and feeling it towards the tips of your fingers. And by the way, the more pressure you put on this hand, the less the drum is vibrating. So I'm going to put a little more pressure with my right hand here, and the pitch should be even a little higher. Okay, let's try it right-handed again. I'm going to put a little bit more pressure here, and I will be striking with the right hand. Okay, so this should give you an idea of how to get the slap. Now, once again, you're not using your whole arm. Now, when you get into it and you're playing, this is a normal motion for playing congas. But if you're just playing a groove and you're going to do a slap, then once again, the motion comes from here, sort of like a whip. Now, this is the slap without the other hand holding the drum down. And let's try that. Let's try with the left. Okay, so the slaps are another very important sound for developing patterns. Now, the last sound or motion is a heel finger motion. Okay, and as I mentioned before, this is a right-handed technique, so your left hand will be playing this particular motion. But once you know how to play, then all of this can be done either way, and that's what actually we're after. But remember that right now we are developing these sounds. So let's try the heel finger motion. It's heel, fingers, heel, fingers. Once again, I'm coming from my wrist, coming down on the heel, and then bringing the fingers down. Heel, fingers, heel, fingers. Okay, so let's put all of these sounds together. This is the part that once you've practiced all of these 4 sounds, then by putting them together, you will be able to start playing some patterns. Now, there's a few rules that we need to remember for playing these particular exercises. Number 1, if you are playing a slap with your right hand, your left hand will stay down on the drum in order to muffle the drum so that you can play the slap. If you are playing an open tone with your right hand, your left hand will raise from the drum so that you can play the open tone of the drum. Okay? Now, the second rule that we're going to be observing is that we are going to put the particular sounds on some specific beats. Now we're going to take a 4/4 bar, 1 bar, and we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, of those 4 beats, the bass tone and the heel finger sound will always play on beats 1 and 3. Remember, for exercise purposes. And the slap is always going to play on beat 2, and the open tone will always play on beat 4. Okay, so that's the rule that we will observe for playing these exercises, and that way we can develop all of these sounds. And very importantly, please start out slow. Then as you go along, speed it up. But what we're looking for is accuracy. Okay, so now let's get into the exercises and let's put all of these sounds together. The first pattern that we will do will be a 4/4 bar. And this will be 1, 2, 3, 4. In other words, 4 quarter notes. And using the rules that I mentioned previously, we will play the sounds on the particular beats. So the first sound will be the bass. Beat 2 will be the slap, beat 3 will be the bass again, and beat 4 will be the open tone. So let's play that. Bass, slap, bass, open. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's speed that up. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Okay, so that is exercise 1. Bass on 1, slap on 2, bass on 3, open tone on 4. Now the next exercise is 1, 2, and 3, 4, and bass, slaps, bass, slap, slap, bass, open, open, bass, slap, slap, bass, open, open. So let's do that. So that's going to be 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 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 1. Remember to keep the bass down for the slaps and raise the bass tone for the open tone. 1, 1, speed it up. Okay, so let's try another pattern. This rhythm will be 1 and 2, 3 and 4. Heel, finger, slap, heel, finger, open. Heel, finger, slap, heel, finger, open. Okay, let's try that. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 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 1 and 2. Heel, finger, slap, heel, finger, open. Heel, finger, slap, heel, finger, open. Let's speed it up. Let's try another exercise. The pattern will be, or the rhythm will be 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and heel, finger, slap, heel, finger, open, open, 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 heel, finger, slap. Now let's speed that up. Remember to keep the left hand down for the slap and the left hand up for the open tone. Okay, let's try another exercise. That is 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and bass. Slap, slap, heel, finger, open, open, bass. Slap, slap, heel, finger, open, open, bass. Slap, slap, heel, finger, open, open, bass. Slap, slap, heel, finger, open, open. 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Let's speed that up. Let's try another pattern. The rhythm will be 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4 and bass, slap, heel, finger, open, open, 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 1, 2, 3 and 4. And let's speed that up. Try another pattern. The rhythm is 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and bass. Slap, slap, heel, finger, open, open, bass. Slap, slap, heel, finger, open, open, bass. Slap, slap, heel, finger, open, open, bass. heel finger open, open. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 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 1, 2, and 3. Let's speed that up. Okay, let's try another pattern. This will be now all eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and heel finger slap slap, heel finger open open, heel finger slap slap, heel finger open open, heel finger slap slap, heel finger open open, heel finger slap. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. Sound familiar? Here we go. Let's speed it up. Now, this last pattern that we just played, it sounds like the tumbao, doesn't it? But it's not really the Afro-Cuban tumbao. That requires one more motion that we will do, and I will teach you that one now. That would be heel finger slap, finger, heel finger, open, open, heel finger slap, finger, heel finger, open, open. It is still 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, but the motion is different. Watch again. Heel finger slap, finger, heel finger, open, open, heel finger slap, finger, heel finger, open, open, finger slap, finger, heel finger. Let's speed that up. Okay, so now here's been a whole series of exercises to help you develop each one of these sounds. Practice them slowly. As I said before, we're looking for accuracy. Don't speed up until each sound is coming out clearly. So the next section that we will be going to will be adding the low drum or the tumba drum. If you have a conga and tumba, that will be your lowest pitch drum. So let's go and put these two drums together. Okay, so let's get into using two congas and doing exercises on two drums. Let's use this rhythm, 1, 2, 3, 4. And in this pattern we will play open tones, bass tones, slaps, heel finger motions, but we will do them separately on each drum. Let's try the open tone. 1, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's try slaps. Let's try the bass tones. Let's try the heel finger motion. Now, these exercises I've only done a few times. It's good for you to repeat them as many times as possible and speed them up as you go along. Now, let's try another rhythm. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. Heel finger slap, heel finger slap, heel finger slap, heel finger slap. Let's try it with the open tone. Heel finger open, heel finger open, heel finger open, heel finger open. Let's try it with the bass. Heel finger bass, finger bass, heel finger bass. Okay, try combining different ones. Let's try, let's say, heel finger slap and heel finger open. Let's try heel finger slap, heel finger bass. So there's many different combinations that you can do, so try your own, make up your own. And 2 and 3 and 4 and then we'll use heel finger slap slap, heel finger open open. Now, let's take the lower pitch, okay, of the rhythm and divide the two open tones between both drums. So we will be playing it this way. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So one thing that happens when you're playing two drums is that each drum starts speaking to the other one. And it's essentially a question and answer, so to speak. This drum will play 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and this one might answer it. You see, so these are the kind of things that goes on when you have two drums. You're having a conversation between the drums. Another exercise would be doing that would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, but this time we will do it this way. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So we are working both ways, going from the low to the high and the high to the low. Okay, there's many other combinations of sounds that you can use, so try them in these different patterns and make up your own. That's how you start building your vocabulary of sounds and of rhythms. Okay, so now let's go on to a specific rhythm. In this rhythm, I will be playing clave to show you how the clave fits to it. And the rhythm is the cha-cha and guajira. Cha-cha and guajira are essentially the same rhythm. There's certain things that happen in Latin music sometimes where you might hear a pattern, and when another of the other percussion instruments changes their pattern or the tempo changes, sometimes it is called a different rhythm, yet it sounds the same to you. So this has been a confusing aspect of Latin music to many people, but the more you play it, the more you get used to it, understanding this concept. So let's start with the cha-cha, where the rhythm is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. But we will be dividing to the lower drum on the and 3 of the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So it will be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. Here's the clave. Okay, so if we take this pattern and rather than going down to the low drum each time when we do it every other time, then we fall more into the category of guajira. Okay, so let's try that. Okay, so this is an idea of what cha-cha and guajira sound like, and there will be a tune in this video that I play this particular type of rhythm. So try to play along with me on that. Now there's another rhythm that is played that is very common to Latin music, and that is the guaguancó. Now the guaguancó is a rhythm that comes or belongs to the family of rumba. Okay, now rumba in itself is not a rhythm, but it really means a gathering of people to play a bunch of different types of rhythms. And within this category, you have 3 different types of, shall we say, guaguancós. They're called jambu, guaguancó, and columbia. Now, we won't be getting into all those styles, but the guaguancó is the most common one. And you recognize it by hearing this phrase. That tells you that it is guaguancó. Okay, so there's the guaguancó pattern. Now, I was playing the guaguancó with the clave against the pattern that I was playing. Now, there's different ways of doing it, against the clave or with the clave. Now, that's going to be determined by the music that you're playing, or shall we say the band that you're working with. Now, to some people it might be incorrect, but I believe that if the musical situation that you're playing in requires you to do it that way, then it's okay to do it that way. It's music, and music is a creative field. So let's move on to a rock beat. Now, if you play rock music or funk music or something, the conga rhythms would change. They don't necessarily have to be Latin, but you do need the technique of the sounds in order to reproduce these rhythms. So the best thing to do is to make up a pattern from what you hear the drummer play. So let's make one up. There's your backbeat. So there's one rock pattern of many that you can play. But if you need to create one, make up your own, or if you're not sure of what to play, listen to what the drummer is playing and get ideas from his drum pattern. And that way you won't be battling the drummer, instead you will be working with the drummer. And that's very important in music today especially. So coming up is the Cha-Cha Guajira song that I told you that we would be doing, and it would be great if you could play along with me and try to play the breaks that are in the tune and try to keep up with the rhythm. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. See you in a few seconds. Okay, for those of you that have been waiting, here are some techniques that you can try and develop, and eventually I will get into some independence patterns that will be very helpful and actually a lot of fun to do. So let's start with double strokes, something very common to playing. The drummers know the double strokes, percussionists know double strokes, but there's 3 different ways that you can do them on congas. One way would be to do a heel, finger, heel, finger, heel, finger, heel, finger. And I'm going to do that slow, and then I'm going to speed it up. Okay, that's one way. The second way of doing double stroke would be heel, heel, finger, finger, heel, heel, finger, fingers. Okay, so let's try that slow and speed it up. That's another double stroke that works great. And a third way of doing it is doing 2 on each hand, but doing it with your fingers. So we have, let's do that slow and speed it up. Okay, so there's 3 ways of doing double strokes. Something else that works great is the drag. Now the drag is in drumming a pattern that is 2 short notes and 1 strong note. So we have, in other words, 2 16ths and a quarter note. That's something that works very good in the percussion patterns that you would play on conga patterns. So let's try the drags. That works great. Now let's try a little bit of a pattern, tumbao, and we'll do some of the double strokes on there. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do it the other way. Let's do it with the fingers. Now let's try some drags. So there's something that works great for any of the patterns you would be playing. Something else that's used very, very much is the roll or the rolls. We'll do 5-stroke rolls, 6-stroke rolls, and we'll divide those into other drums. So first let's learn the 5-stroke roll, which is 2 on each hand, and on the 5th beat it would be a slap. And left-handed would be. Now let's alternate those. Now let's divide those to the lower drums. So if you're playing a tumbao again and you want to divide to the lower drum the 5-stroke roll, it would sound like this. Now a 6-stroke roll would be 2 on each hand, and then 1 and 1. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So let's try that. And this can also alternate left-handed. Now let's divide it to the lower drum. So it also works great as part of your pattern. Now, something that I've gotten into, which is really a lot of fun, and I really enjoy doing it, is playing different patterns on different instruments simultaneously. And as you saw on the music that I did in the earlier part of the video, I played these instruments simultaneously. So that's what we're going to get into right now. And the first thing you need to do is to develop a little bit one-hand conga playing. And I'll give you an exercise that works great for developing that. And it's going to be, I'll be doing it slow. And let's try it. Finger. finger, heel, finger, slap, finger, heel, finger, open, open, heel, finger, slap, finger, heel, finger, open, open, heel, finger, slap, finger, heel, finger, open, open. And this, you can practice that warming up, and it would help your development of playing a pattern with one hand. Now, I would be handed a tape, and it would have music for me to learn when I would go do a gig, and I would hear a conga part, and I say, well, that's fine, I can play that. So I would practice the part. And then as I'm listening to the tape, I say, well, oh, wow, now I hear a cowbell. Well, I'm going to have to do something with that. Let's play conga with one hand and play cowbell with the other one. So let's do that part. That's easy enough, but then all of a sudden I would hear a clave part and I go like, oh boy, now how am I going to do that? Well, LP now has a bracket called the Gajate bracket, in which you can mount a cowbell, you can mount one of the granite blocks, okay, and you can play those patterns with your feet, which is what I've gotten into. So I'm going to add that part now, and let's complete this trio of instruments. Conga first, 1 and 2 and 3. Okay, so now I would hear another instrument. I hear a cowbell. I go, okay, well, I have to do that with something else. So I have another bracket with a cowbell on it. So I would play all of that at the same time. So let's try that. So I'll start with conga. 1 and 4, 1, 2, cowbell. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, clave. So now we have the full rhythm section, but there's still one part missing, and that would be dividing into the lower drum to give it the extra groove that it needs to get it happening. So let's start each part individually, and I'll build all the way to the lower drum. So let's start with the conga. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So there you go. Here's something that you can do that's really a lot of fun, and it makes your mind think, and it's great today to be able to do things independently of the others, especially if you're the only percussionist in a band. And this is something that I've gotten into, something that I'm known for, and it's something that is a lot of fun, and it makes it interesting for me. Okay, we've come to the end of the video. I surely hope you've had a lot of fun practicing these exercises and adding the second drum and playing all the different instruments that we've been working on or you've been hearing during the course of the video. Remember though that what we're looking for is accuracy and not speed. Speed will come later, but if you can play each sound as accurate as possible, then you'll have a good reproduction during the course of playing the rhythms. So that's what you want to achieve. Okay? I've had a lot of fun doing this, and I hope you've had a lot of fun too. So don't leave. There's going to be a great tune coming at the end of the video. And when I am out on tour doing clinics for LP or playing with any of the groups that I work with, please come up and say hi. So thank you very much. Adios, amigos. Bye.